Welcome, everybody, to the Point of View Marketing Roundtable. I am Tad Hargrave from marketingforhippies.com. So the format is we have 6 guests, 6 of my favorite colleagues who are all up to wonderful things in marketing, thinking all the thoughts that I can't think and doing the things that I can't, I'm not interested in doing. And so I'm really glad to have them here to share their thoughts on this nebulous beast of sharing our point of view and perspectives and how that relates to marketing. So maybe we will start with Mark Silver, if you're up for it. Mark is a colleague I've known one of the longest of all my colleagues. Often refer to him as my marketing bromance. He runs heartofbusiness.com. And my goodness, I've certainly sent many clients his way and rave reviews always. So Mark, over to you.
Thank you, Tad. I'm really delighted to be here, and so wonderful to see everybody. I'm going to try to be as clear as I can. It's the 5th day of Ramadan, and luckily it's early in the day, so my fast has not completely obliterated my brain, but I should be fine. So point of view marketing, as you call it, Tad, is it's really beautiful. I first came across this idea under different language back in like 2005, 2006. I read this little book by George Lakoff called Don't Think of an Elephant. And for those who don't know, George Lakoff is like an amazing academic linguistic professor who also talks a lot about the concept of framing. He's talked about it a lot in the context of the United States politics and why progressives do so badly and conservatives do so well. And it talks exactly about this. And so I kind of, being politically minded as well as marketing minded, I read this book, which is like the least academic. It's like a super thin, super easy read. And what he discusses in this book is that you have to create a frame. You have to create a frame for people to understand the context for what you're talking about and how you're talking about it. And then often what we're doing is using other people's frames. And then we're kind of positioning ourselves in opposition or for whatever the dominant frame, marketing. You have to talk about the problems. You have to push on the pain points. You have to, sell the sizzle, not the steak, all these weird things that were developed by the budding marketing and advertising industry on Madison Avenue, New York City around the turn of the 20th century. We're hiring, I guess a little later than that, but we're hiring people out of the nascent psychological field of psychology to create manipulative there's the Ramadan brain. What's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, so propaganda, create propaganda. And so advertising and propaganda are very closely linked. And it's just a mess out there. You already knew this, or you wouldn't be here with Tad, but it's really important to understand, like this is an example of framing. Like I'm talking about advertising as propaganda, and that's an understanding of the world that's needed when we approach this. Now, when we giving you this background, what I discovered and what was so inspiring to me is that, it's actually okay to put my values out there. It's actually okay to put myself out there. And as a Sufi Muslim business healer who also works in, the nitty-gritty practical aspects of business, it was a little nerve-wracking to put myself out there, especially because the business was born basically the same week that 9/11 happened. Good timing, Mark. So, but what I discovered is that when I went in my heart And I started to put the things that I believe about on my website. What happened was we doubled our subscribers overnight just by making that change. I just like, I believe in this, and I don't remember, it was almost 20 years ago, I guess 18 years ago. So I don't have the examples anymore to share with you the changes that I made, because I kind of went for broke. I just like made the changes. I didn't save the old website. I just like went in the old HTML and changed the language. And what I've come to understand more profoundly is that it's really like when people come to us, they're hurting, right? They're hurting in some way. There's something that they can't do. There's some place that they're stuck. There's some place that they're not feeling fully empowered. And so there's two things that are really important when someone's feeling vulnerable like that. One thing is that they're really needing to feel seen and witnessed. They need to have a sense of belonging. We all need a sense of belonging. It's one of the deepest needs we have as humans. And in Sufism, it's in a quote that says, the divine says, I was a hidden treasure and I yearned to be known. And so I created the creation in order to be known. We're talking about source, not beard in a sky, but the all-encompassing source of love, that from which none of us are separate. And it's that yearning to be known that lives in each of our hearts. And so when we share values in a way that is real, people can feel like they belong. The other need that gets met when somebody is in that kind of a vulnerable position is that when we take the risk, first, if we're the first to be vulnerable, if we're, as the business owner, the first to show our hearts and to show where we stand and to show what we stand up for and what we believe in and the kind of world that we're wanting to create and wanting to exist within, that helps someone who feels vulnerable feel safe enough to step forward with their vulnerability. Oh, this person's taking a risk and they're showing me who they are, and I feel like I belong, so maybe I can take a risk too and step forward as well. So I think that's only 8 minutes. I think if I went any farther, it would turn into 30 minutes of getting into all kinds of details of like how to do that. But I want to just encourage you that no matter how weird you are, wherever you're standing, or whatever feels kind of out there, that there's other people that really, really, really want to feel seen and want to belong, and you can provide that for them. You can provide shelter and refuge. So.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mark. That was a beautiful, beautiful way to open this. So I think we're going to skip over to Europe. So Sarah Santacroce in Switzerland. So I've known of Sarah for a while, and over the last few years, there's been a shift in your branding and what you call your business, which I think speaks really beautifully to point of view. So I won't steal your thunder. Maybe I'll just pass it over to you because I witnessed, of course, that shift that you went through. So Sarah, over to you.
Yeah, as the introvert, I would have loved for you to, show the spotlight. I'm not one to be much in the spotlight, but yes, I have gone through a transformation. I'm calling it now what I'm doing, humane marketing, humane selling. And point of view marketing is very much aligned with how I see things. I've always seen things, but I guess I kind of lost my way for a little while. I started out as a LinkedIn consultant and built a LinkedIn consulting business, kind of, well, similar to you in the early years, I guess, Tad, falling into this is how we do marketing online kind of things. And so, yes, now basically about 4 years ago, saying, well, what we need is a humane marketing revolution, bringing more kindness and empathy to the business world and to marketing. The topic today is point of view marketing, and there's a few words or terms that I use that are very much aligned with that. And I want to start with empathy and perspective taking. So in the Selling Like We're Human book, I talk about this idea of bringing empathy to selling and to marketing. And I think for the people here, the people that you attract, Tad, of course, that's a no-brainer. We are all heart-centered. We bring empathy. We bring kindness. We don't want to manipulate or clear objections or any of those things. And yet, I make the point to actually also bring in the perspective taking. So it's kind of like a both and, the heart empathy and the head perspective taking, or the right brain empathy and the left brain, the perspective taking. So when we only come with empathy, then that makes people feel heard and seen, which, like Mark just explained, yes, we all need that. We all want that. We all want that belonging, right? But the perspective taking, or the point of view, like you call it, is kind of the next step to show people that you are the one who can help them out of the stuckness that they're in. Where if you just say, oh, I hear you and I feel you and I've been there as well, then maybe they don't see that there's actually a way out of it. But we're not going to do that with the magic wand thing that we so often see and just offer a magic solution, but really just by showing them a different point of view. So an example could be in what you and I do, Tad, marketing, is that there is a different way of marketing, and that you can do it with kindness and humane and all of that. So that's a different point of view. Or I was just thinking of someone in my community who was yesterday sharing a 1-minute meditation. And she was like, this works. It can actually work. And I was thinking, wow, how nice that is for people, because I know a lot of people are struggling with meditation. We all hear that we should be doing it. And yet for some people, it's just really difficult. And then to hear that you can start with 1 minute, and that is fine. There's nothing wrong with you if you can't sit down 30 minutes and meditate every day. I find that is so, like, it's a fresh breath of air, right? That's what I'm sure we all often hear. It's like, yeah, this is different. It feels different. So yeah, that's kind of the empathy and perspective taking that I find is very aligned with what you do. The other thing that I have my people think about is their anti-hero. So who is your client's anti-hero? Meaning, who or what have they experienced before they come to you? What kind of baggage do they come with? So again, in the meditation example, it would be, somewhat like kind of the society's, what do I want to say? Like this idea that we all have to sit down every day and meditate for an hour. Or in our marketing example, it's like, well, marketing just has to be manipulative and pushy. So that is the anti-hero. That's the baggage that people come with. And if you have that information and bring that into your communications, then people feel like, oh, she gets me. This is exactly, this is exactly what I've experienced. And this is exactly what I don't want to do anymore. So finding out your client's anti-hero is just very powerful, and it shows that you show empathy because you're interested in their journey. The last thing I want to mention is it's a bit different, but I call it worldview. So I talk a lot about bringing more of you into your marketing. And also this idea of the niche, where everybody tells you you have to have a niche. I say, what if you make your worldview your niche? What if you actually don't follow everybody's advice and say, I have to have one very specific niche and just work with these people? What if you make your worldview your niche? And by that, I mean, bring more of you and kind of like what Mark was saying, bring your values, bring your opinions, even strong political opinions, bring that into your marketing so people resonate with your worldview. And they get to, like, we all make decisions on the human level, right? People could work with anybody with on their marketing, but they choose to work with you, Tad, because they resonate with your worldview. And so that's where I say, well, forget about the niche. And I guess in a way, that's also point of view marketing. It's like, well, my point of view is that I think you can ditch the niche and just make your worldview your niche. So that's the third thing I wanted to bring up for conversation. I did not expect to just have 10 minutes. So I'm very much about conversation. So if anybody has a question, I would love to just have a human conversation about it. And maybe the 10 minutes are already up, and that's fine too.
Well, my thought is we'll save questions for the end, and then
Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll have a bit of a panel, and so if any of you watching have questions you want to ask to all of us or to one of us in particular, please make note, because we will come back to those at the end. Sarah, thank you so much for sharing.
Great.
That was beautiful. Oh, amen. I mean, I have lots of things I want to echo, but then I'll go off on my own tirade. All right, we're going to move to Ingrid Lill. Ingrid Lill, also from Europe, is a life coach with a pencil, and has this real special approach of doodling and drawing with her clients to help them figure out all sorts of things, point of view, their niche, business model, and this idea of taking it out of just the head and making it visual. So Ingrid, over to you. Thanks so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. Yes, I'm a business coach with a pencil, and I will share my screen if I may, because I want to show some visuals, because I'm all about drawing, and I want to show you what can you enabling screen sharing?
You got it.
Share screen. Here. First, I want to share a little bit about my story, which is I used to be an all-round graphic designer. I thought I have to make money. I mean, I still have to make money, but I think I have to do something grown up in order to make money, which is designing, thinking about business, and not so much about, yeah. And it's not that this was bad, but I was doing websites and all kinds of stuff that wasn't really in my interest. So people came to me, wanted a website, and I just made it look pretty. It was not optimal. Then at some point I thought, I want to do something that is, I'm getting too old for doing stuff that is not what I love. And I did some soul searching, thought about what I love doing, and it was drawing. And so what I'm doing now is I'm drawing people's problem to help them figure out what kind of website, what kind of messaging they need. And it's a win-win-win situation. I get to do what I love with people that I love, that are aligned with me, because they are also visual thinkers. And I get to draw, and I get to think and do all the stuff that so it is possible. That's just a word of encouragement, to really think about what you love doing with whom, and then combine it, instead of just thinking about making money. And yeah, and that's what I'm doing now. And I make more money, by the way, than before also. A little bit about how I came across that and what I did, how it was before. This is my website when I was a graphic designer. It was me in the center, and many people still have that. And then a portfolio of services, what you're offering. And then people are supposed to pick out what they want. The problem is people have, and these here are problems, they have their own problems and they're worried and they don't really want to decipher your website or your message. So it has to be very clear. And this is very much inspired by Donald Miller, who brought me on the path of doing a story-based website. And I still, after I read his book, I still didn't get it because I had to draw it out. And this is how this brand storyboarding was born, that I need to draw it. And I found out that other people also have to see it in order to understand it, what is happening here. So the story-based website works like this. First, you visualize your, and you can do it with stickman. It doesn't have to be art at all. It's not art. You visualize your client with his problem or with their problems. In a situation where they're about to call you. And there's an outer circumstance which has to be pretty specific, otherwise I can't draw it. So this is the advantage with drawing, that you have to, you can't just do, tell me abstract stuff. So there's the outer thing, then there's the inner state, how they feel, there's where the empathy comes in. And here is the most interesting to me part, which is the philosophical part, which is Tad's point of view. And the question that I'm asking my people is, what is wrong with the world that this person here, who is smart and hasn't deserved this, ended up in this situation? Also, this kind of setting it up like this in a three-part is, here is the problem pit, here is the paradise panel, and the skills or the plan, how you get them from island A to island B is the plan. This is your service. This here is the vehicle. And this also helps me and my clients to sort out what is the means, how you get them there, and what is the problem. So this really helps with setting up the website and the messaging. Because then you can ask on your website, what is it? Draw it. Is this what you want? But you feel like that. If so, this here might get you there. And then things will be better. And the philosophical problem, the point of view, is kind of the backdrop for it all, because it's satisfying storytelling if you can solve all these three problems with one swoop here. No, I didn't look on the clock. I have a this is my my template that I also have for download, where you can put all the stuff in here. And this is how it looks in real life. Here we have Tad Hargrave's storyboard. This is the client stuck in a mainstream box. And the point of view part is, I mean, this is not really in depth, but the high pressure marketing that is the mainstream, and it doesn't have to be like this. And it's funny that I also have to, when I draw this, it also has to be at a certain place. So I'm really, when I'm thinking through this stuff, then it has to be on the left is this, and here is that. So it's very, how do you call that? Spatial thinking. And here on this side is the empathy, on this side is the skills and the authority. And this is the plan, how you get us from A to B. And you have to stop me because I didn't look at the at the timer. How much do I have left?
You got another minute or two.
Okay, here's another worksheet. This is the same story that helps to write your, it's a storytelling thing where you can put your backstory, what you love doing, and the problem that gets worse, you dream about the solution, then the futile attempts, you hit a roadblock until you get a new idea. And this helps you to tell your story from this perspective here. This was what I struggled with in the beginning. If I don't draw it up, then I just get lost in linear text. And yeah, and this makes it easier to figure out the stories. And in the end, you can find and share your treasure, which is what I'm doing right now. And my point of view is use your pencil. It's not for art, it's for communication also.
Ingrid, you are a wonder. Thank you so much. And it's interesting, actually, that the slide you saw, and I'll be emailing my list with the video that you sent me, Ingrid, of our storyboarding session. That was one of the major seeds of me shifting my membership into this 4 semesters. Because in my conversation with Ingrid, I realized, oh, there really are these 4 major pieces that I focus on. So it was in the drawing it out that this became clear for me.
And I mean, it helps if you see that there needs to be a simple structure, then it kind of forces your brain to come up with the pieces, with the missing pieces.
I also love what you said about if you can't draw it, it's not clear enough. There should be some situation you can actually draw. That's a great piece of criteria. I'd never thought of saying it that way. All right, next we're going to go to Dani Gardner. But what a treasure we have today. My gosh, we've got humane marketing. What a thought. Marketing could be humane. And making the distinction that there's some marketing that is clearly inhumane. You know, as soon as you hear humane marketing, it makes you think, oh, yeah, there's a lot of, most marketing is not that. If we have to add a qualifier, that maybe there's something about marketing that is both inhuman and inhumane. So it's such a beautiful distinction to make. And then with Dani Gardner, we have quiet marketing. Beautiful. Also, a lot of point of view communicated just in the name. Dani Gardner wrote a book called Quiet Marketing, which I read, and just a gem. It's like the Tao Te Ching. It's just so short and pithy and potent. So anyways, Dani, over to you.
Thank you, Ted, and thanks for inviting me to this. Can I share my screen?
Yes, just one sec.
Like Ingrid, I need to have visuals. Where is my, oh, there we go.
All right.
Okay. So, what I wanted to share with you guys is a tool that I use myself and with clients that can really help sort of bring a lot of this conceptualization of point of view, because you can hear it all and be like, that's amazing, I want to do that, but like how do I actually do that? So I think this might help you. So it's with this system I developed, it's evolved over the years, but it's now it's a 4-part system, but it's offer specific. So instead of now trying to sort of work with people on their overall messaging, which can get pretty crazy if there's all sorts of different offers, it's sort of like it's done one offering at a time, and then you can kind of look back and see like there's a thread and whatnot. So there's 4 parts to this. So there's the offer name, there's the offer subheading, there's the current landscape, so basically Island A, desired landscape Island B, and then your perspective and this the tool is called the message organizer, or the MO for short. That's why there's a MO there. Okay, so the first 3 parts of this tool, so the message organizer, is really about the awareness of the people that we, our audience, our intended audience. And then the 4th part is actually about our awareness. So let me just continue on here. So another way of putting this is, or another way this works, is that the first 3 parts, every minute you spend working on that is just gold, because it makes like offer design and sales copy, like there's another sort of template that goes on after this, which is like the sales template, or what I'm liking to call these days the invitation page rather than a sales page, and it goes straight over. So it's super easy. But part 4 is really what helps you identify, discern, the point of view stuff, the content that you can actually create that is, speaks to what you're offering and things like that. So so these 3 parts: offer design, sales copy, and part 4 is the perspective. So what happens a lot is what happens a lot is I forget to put on my timer, which I did, so I might just put on now just to check. So often when I'm working with people, and I'm sure a lot of people have found this, it's like we're just trying to start with our point of view, like our awareness. And in the beginning, you've really got to make sure you're seeing the landscape through their eyes and how they see it, and through their current consciousness, through their current awareness. But part 4, this is always the fun bit, because this is where I say to clients, right, now you're on, now let's go with, what do you think of this? Where are you at with all these things? So what happens as you work with this tool is you're working on all this stuff, but when like the current landscape, you're fleshing these things out, and then you're essentially copying and pasting down to part 4. And now it's like time for you to say what you want to say about the whole thing. So this is just a screenshot of part of that document, the message organizer. So like under part 2, current landscape, there's just some examples there. And so the whole thing is about life through their eyes and their feelings and whatnot. But I'm only just focusing on part 4 for what we're doing today. So what I suggest is that you take, so let me just go back. You see how this first point is conventional business and marketing approaches do not sit well with your nervous system. All right. So then if you're like, okay, so now I'm going to flesh this out. Now, what's my point of view about this? So a few ways to approach this, but I find what's helpful is you add the word because after it. So you've got conventional business and marketing approaches do not sit well with your nervous system because it just uses that activation to channel your perspective. And so now you go, well, why do I think that's happening for them? And so as an example, it's like, well, I'm talking to highly sensitive people here. So, well, we're wired differently. We feel things more deeply. So it's just a matter of brainstorming a few things. And then what I will do is once I've got like about this many, I'll actually just cut and paste that whole thing, everything that's highlighted, into a Word document. And now I've got my draft for a piece of content, basically. So other sort of thoughts to think of when it's like the whole channeling of your point of view, it's like with each specific point, like that one I just showed you, it's like you're asking yourself, what is my experience with this particular thing? What stories do I have about this topic? Either, I think it's always great to be sharing your own stories, but where appropriate, stories of your clients and things like that. It's like identifying what is it they're not aware of yet, because you want to meet them where they're at, but then take them on that sort of epiphany journey, like take them on the journey to what you now understand. It's about saying, why do I believe that this is happening? And that's where this word because comes in. It's like that will help activate that. And then a lot of what I've said so far has been in relation to the current landscape, but when it's like the desired landscape, like Island B, it's like a question that you can ask is yourself to activate your point of view around that is, yeah, like what have I found that is needed, or what lessons have I learned about this? And so then, you know, you're starting to sort of get into some storytelling, and it can feel quite natural. So for me, once I've put that into a Word document and I've like played around, so it's really like it's a space to play and be creative and whatever. Like there's not a, beyond what I've shared already, there's no definite formula here. It's just a few things to activate within you, your own point of view. But the end result can look something like this. Like it might be a social media post. It might end up being a blog post. Another one there. And that is actually it. So that was really quick, it felt like. So I hope you find that helpful. And at the end, if you've got any questions about how any of that works, I'll be here.
Amazing. Dani, that was brilliant. Wow, that was really tight. Yeah, what are they aware of? What are we aware of? That is such a big piece of point of view marketing. Yes, amen. Okay, next up, we've got Allegra Stein. Now, Allegra is somebody I've worked with as a client, but also as a colleague. Allegra has done a lot of work around niching out with clients, helping them figure out their gifts, helping them sort out how their strengths and their gifts can play into their niche, and how they can bring more of you, she has a modality she works with called you mapping. How do people bring more of themselves into their niche? That who they are plays a really important part, of course, of the niche. So Allegra, real good to have you here. Over to you.
Thanks. I feel like I'm in such amazing company because I consider everyone who's spoken already, I've considered some of my own teachers. It's like, I'm just, what a pleasure it is to be here. So thank you. So I am actually coming to all of you with my story of the shift from thinking I had a point of view to actually having a point of view. I thought I knew what it was until I had one. And then I was like, oh, this is the power of having a point of view. And I think it's helpful to just, the context to help frame it out is some of Tad's recent conversations around point of view involving diagnosis, prognosis, and prescription, just holding that. And I also love thinking about this idea of our clients and ourselves being on a journey. Okay, so I'm kind of holding both of those things. I have been coaching since 2012. So for those of you who identify as coaches and that kind of service provider, I've been navigating this landscape for over a decade now. And I want to say that for the first 7 or 8 years, what I was most, it's still true, but I think coaches are very, very passionate about sharing their prescriptions, where we love our prescriptions. It's like, I see it everywhere, like, get coaching, who wants coaching? Here's these tools, here's this stuff. I have been very inspired by the ideas I've had that I want to do in my work. I'm an ideator, I'm an activator. So I have never been short of like being super inspired by the thing that I've created, that I've made, that I want to share, that I think will be helpful. An experience I want to lead people on, a tool I've got, an offer that I've designed. And that kind of, so it's like when I met Tad and started working with his stuff and him and learned about these ideas around point of view, like, I thought like, yeah, I get it. But my point of view, I think, was really the driving force behind my work has just been like, isn't this so awesome? This thing that I've got. And I think that's really, really important. I think that's an essential ingredient to making all this work. We have to love our work. We have to be confident in it. We have to be willing to talk about it and stand behind it. And when that's kind of the driving thing, like it wasn't about, it was never inspired originally by like a person out there. It was like, I'm going to do this thing and the people who want it, that's who I want to be around and who I want to help. And it's great, but it can be hard too, because as you all probably know, we all know it can be really silent. We can put ideas out. We're like, this is great. And then no one says anything. And it can just feel very personal, like, because it's our thing that we love and we know will be very helpful. So my point of view, which I thought I got, was just about like, yeah, coaching's great. This thing is great. This thing I'm doing is great. Then in 2019, I, as part of kind of just building on my coaching toolkit, got certified to administer this assessment for those of you who use assessment tools. And the assessment that I got certified in is called UMAP. And UMAP reveals a person's strengths, values, skills, and interests. Great. And as a result of that, I was shown my strengths, values, skills, and interests and was like, whoa, like seeing all those things about me, all of a sudden I had a totally new perspective on my journey through the coaching landscape. It's almost like I'd decided to go hike the Rockies, and 8 years into my journey, someone said, let me show you a few things about you. And I was like, I wish I'd known this stuff before I started hiking. So on the heels of that, I had this idea. I thought, I think every coach should know this. I think every coach should know this stuff about themselves. And that was one of the very first moments. This is where like the shift happened, where it wasn't just the tool that I was loving. I was like, yeah, I love this tool, a new idea. It was connected to a person. It was connected to their journey. And so what I did is I got off the trail, like I ran back to the beginning of the trailhead, right? To the beginning of the coaching journey. And I was like, I wanted to just talk to all the people who were starting like I had started 7 or 8 years prior and be like, I want you to know this stuff. And as a part of that, I wasn't in any coaching community. Like I wasn't surrounded with coaches. I wasn't in any coaching programs. I wasn't talking to a lot of coaches because I hadn't been that wasn't where I wanted to do my work. But in that moment, I was like, you all need to know this. So I did something that I now call a conversation project, which I'm happy to give all of you. I eventually framed it out as like a little course. I essentially started to interview coaches, new coaches. Now, this could have been anyone. It could have been interviewing new chefs, interviewing new to any journey that you may have been on. And I started to hear their stories, and something surfaced in me that really shifted it. And that was, it feels like such a strong word to share, but I kind of got angry at what they had been told. I can like feel it in when I got so discouraged by what they'd been taught and like the things that they were struggling with. And all of a sudden, I had an opinion. I had an opinion about their journey. It wasn't just an opinion about my tool. Yeah, I had a great tool, but I was like, oh, I'm not doing this for the tool anymore. I'm not doing this because I've got this thing to sell. I'm doing it because when I hear these stories, I have something to say to help them. And if no one comes to my workshop, I'm still going to do the workshop and I'm going to publish it. And if no one listens, I have to do it to help the people. And I started to talk about not my prescription. It's great. I love my prescription. I think it's great. But I started to reflect all the things that everyone's been teaching about what's their journey, what's their story, what are they thinking that they don't even realize has been a problem. That's the stuff that started to fuel my content and my ideas, was like this desire to help, this need to help them regardless of whether they bought anything from me. And it's very counterintuitive. You'll hear this. The less transactional things are, it's like the more transactions that happen, but you can't really plan it that way. But as I started to speak to their experience, as I started to say, I understand, and please don't go out on that journey unless you know this stuff. And I know you've been told that, but consider these other ways. And people would say things to me like, wow, you've said something I've been thinking about. And I don't know how Tad would frame that out. I'm like, maybe I would speak to the diagnosis more, like the helping people understand that this is happening. This is why you're feeling discouraged and strained, and there's another way of looking at it. And that just fueled me in a way that I hadn't felt fueled before. And if you're not sure what that is for you, I think what's hard is like, I wasn't looking for that. It surfaced as a result of talking to people who were they're actually already into the journey that I had been on, but they were like going down really pathways that, didn't feel right, but they didn't know why. I mean, all kinds of stuff there. And if you're not sure what that is for you, my suggestion is to go talk to a lot of people. Go talk to people and listen to their stories. And when they say something and you're like, oh my God, that's not how it should be. There's a different way. Start talking about that other way and why you feel that way. And it really shifts things. The point of view stuff really shifted things for me. And that was my story of going from, I thought I knew how to use it, and then I really got it, and it landed, and it led to a lot of really important conversations, and people reflecting on it in a very different way.
Thank you,
So
Allegra.
that's my story.
That's a great story. What a great question to ask. What is it that your people have been taught about their journey, about the results they want, about the problems they're facing that makes you angry? What a great question to ask. I think all of us could think about this, there are certain things they taught you what? They said what? And this could be the institutions, it could be from their parents, it could be from their community, the TV, what was it that people were taught that this is hurting you to believe?
Yeah. I think it's about having an opinion about something. It's like, what do you have an opinion about? And don't be afraid to lean into that. I think that's what can really fuel things. So I'm happy. I'm like Sarah. I'm like, I desperately want it. I love conversations. So please feel free in any way to send me questions or thoughts. I think we all likely feel that way. So thanks for having me.
And Sarah's saying that's what I meant by antihero. Wonderful. Threads getting woven. Okay, well, one last thread to weave in, then we'll open it up to just a conversation. And by the way, let me just say, all you panelists, you can ask questions of each other too. So if you have questions, you want to clarify something somebody else said, or jump onto what they said and build on it, please feel free to. We'll just go in order of people raising their hands. But Rebecca Van Damm is also here. Thank goodness, here and in the world. Rebecca Van Damm does social media work and strategy, helping people. It started with Instagram for her, and it has broadened out a bit and deepened into this. Just how do you grow your following, grow your list? And I'm just such a big fan. Rebecca has been helping me personally with my Instagram. If you've followed me for a while, you'll have seen over the last year and a half, my Instagram went from mostly funny memes. There's something I'm actually very proud of. I was proud of the funny memes too, but I'm proud of this in a different way, and it's more useful for my business. So Rebecca is the great mind behind that and steering the ship in that direction. So Rebecca, so good to have you here. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And it's so great to hear everybody and get new perspectives. I always love it. All right. So my point of view in point of view marketing is that you should lead with your most unpopular belief. And a lot of the things that we have talked about, or that I've heard said around opinions, around belonging, I feel like it's all in here in the most unpopular belief. So I'm happy that lots of these things have already been touched on. So my most unpopular belief is that building a business and disrupting capitalism are not mutually exclusive. So I want to talk about why you should lead with your most unpopular belief. I have 3 reasons. One is that your ideal clients will love it. It's relieving when they hear you say something that is kind of like, I can't believe she said that out loud. It's exciting, it's galvanizing, and it fosters that sense of belonging. They feel less alone when you say a thing that you're like, nobody says that, especially not in this field. Number 2, your non-ideal clients will hate it. So we are in the business of having conversations. And you should, I mean, whatever business you're in the business of having conversations. And you should really ask yourself, who do you want to be talking to? Who do you want to spend your days with on Zoom calls, etc.? And so it's a filter. Your most unpopular belief is a filter. And I think about, like, Tad has that great chart that he does where when the yeses are lows, the no's are also lows, and the maybes are up. So it's like that. But when the yeses are up, the maybes are way down and the no's are up too. So people are afraid to say their unpopular belief because they're afraid those no's are going to go up, but the yeses are going to go way up too. And then you're going to have less of these tire kickers. So the third reason is because it shows confidence. It shows your confidence, which builds trust. So being bold and going out on a limb means that you're not afraid to stand in your own integrity, which shows people that they can count on you. And it might even inspire them to be more bold. But being bold means that you're comfortable in your own skin. And people want to work with people who are comfortable in their own skin. It's relaxing. If you think about, not that we're parenting anybody, but if you think about a parent or an authority figure, when they are relaxed and standing in their integrity, you feel relaxed, you feel held, you feel hosted. So speaking your most unpopular belief makes people around you, some people around you, very uncomfortable, but it makes the right people very comfortable. So that's why. Okay, so I want to talk about what the most unpopular belief is not, and then I'll talk about what it is. So number one, it is not hate speech. If you are harboring some secret hateful thoughts about marginalized people, do not be emboldened to lead with that unpopular belief. Go to therapy and work out your hate. I don't think anyone in this room would do that, but I don't know. There's been little inklings where people are like, I don't know if I should say my most unpopular belief. And I just get this feeling, no, you probably shouldn't. So it's not hate speech. Number two, it is not antagonizing. So it's not something that's contrived and purposely contrarian or provoking for attention. It's not clickbait. It's not provoking for the sake of being provoking. Number three, it's not obvious. So it has to be something that for whatever reason, people around you are not saying it out loud. Maybe it's something that you feel like you're seeing, like you're kind of going like, is anyone else seeing this? It could be something like that, because it might be something that others around you don't seem to know, but if they do know it, they're just not saying it out loud. So be the one to say it out loud. So it shouldn't be obvious. So those are the three what it's not. Here's the three what it is. So number one, it has to be something you actually believe. So it has to come from the heart and it has to be real for you. You're saying it out loud and you feel relieved that you said it out loud, or you say it out loud and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. So number two, it has to be intrinsically loving. And when I say loving, I don't mean nice. I am not nice. I'm loving, but I'm not nice. And it's that mama bear energy. So when I say loving, I mean, maybe it's righteous indignation or it's speaking truth to power. Those things are loving. And it's like mama bear energy. You're saying it out loud because you know it's going to help people and protect people, or help them protect themselves, or help them fight for something that's right. And it's something that your potential clients will breathe a sigh of relief hearing, even if it pushes buttons or makes people uncomfortable. And it might even make your clients uncomfortable. I've had clients where I'm like, I'm an anti-capitalist marketer. And because my clients are anti-capitalist, they're like, you can't be that. These things are mutually exclusive. So it might even push the buttons of the people who love you, but they still want to have a conversation about it. So intrinsically loving is number two. And number three, it has to be something edgy enough that you're a little scared to say it. It has to be something that takes courage. So a lot of my clients, especially my British and Canadian clients, they're the hardest nuts to crack because they're like, I don't think I should say this. But I would push you to just try to say the thing that that you're afraid to say and see what happens. You might be surprised as to the response that you get, the positive and negative response that you get. I don't know how much time I took, but if people want to share their most unpopular belief in the chat or something came to mind, that would be cool if people shared their most unpopular belief. But that is what I have to say. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, everybody. Wow. We finished a little bit early on that, which is my hat off to all of you for your consideration on the presentation front. So now there's the reactions button at the bottom. So if anyone has anything they want to share, the presenters want to share another thought, you just, oh, I have to put this one piece in, please feel free to pipe in. If you have a question for any of the presenters, please feel free to raise your hand. If you think you got a really killer example, you want to share that, please feel free to jump in with that as well. And then we will, yeah, so Allegra, you've got a question on Instagram handles. Feel free.
I just wanted to, there's some of the teacher that I want to, if anyone wants to share, I'd like to follow some people I don't think I've met before. And so I was just hoping you would post it so I could find them.
Okay, so if y'all are on Instagram, for the presenters, please put your Instagram handle in. I could do it, but I can't do it fast enough. So if you all do it at once, that'll be helpful. Yeah, if anyone wants to follow, or if there's another way, maybe you're not on Instagram, but some other social media platform that you're big on, feel free to post it in the chat and LinkedIn. Okay, yeah, feel free everyone as a presenter. Okay, and we already have some unpopular beliefs that were shared. Right, so Shirley said, our world is in big trouble. We need the boomers to be our elders and help. Beautiful. Miriam said, unpopular belief, I can't teach movement classes if I'm not a trained dancer. Okay, so my guess is that is something your clients are feeling. I think this may be different than what Rebecca was talking about, unpopular belief. Liz says, some people who say they have imposter syndrome don't have imposter syndrome. They're actually being imposters because they're not showing up as their true selves. Okay, interesting. Right. It's an active thing that they're doing, not a passive thing they're enduring. Right. I have to figure that out how to say that without triggering my sensitive audience. Yeah. Ingrid said, I'm struggling to find my unpopular beliefs. Nobody is against drawings. Okay. Alicia said, our decisions and beliefs are full of colonizing ideas. We grew with them. It's like fish to water. Always question decisions and beliefs, and even if they are not supporting non-human lives or indigenous stewards, they may be colonizer ideas. Yeah, beautiful, very strong. Great, we've got some of the Instagram handles coming in. Thank you everybody for posting those. Okay, so any questions, any comments, anything anyone want to share? I'm not seeing any hands up right now.
I've got something, Tad.
Please, Dani, yeah.
I'm just really curious. This is for Rebecca. It's more about actually your opinion on something, but who knows where this will lead. So I got involved in sort of some anti-capitalist content and whatnot a few years ago, and I was sort of a bit like, right, yeah, like everything they said, I was like, yeah, right, that's bad for the people, you know, it was all that kind of stuff. And what was interesting is little by little I start to even question those things, because it's like this anti-capitalist stuff, there's very little self-care in here, like there's very little, you know, and it was really interesting. And so one thing that comes to mind is that there was this sort of thing that to have to charge extra for payment plans is like, if you do that, you're like essentially you're applying a poverty tax, right? I don't know if you've heard of this. And I was like, right, that's so true. I'm not doing that. Anyway, I've actually reversed that because there's really valid reasons why that's actually necessary. So I don't know, just for fun, I'm really curious, what's your opinion on payment plans, and do you believe it's a poverty tax if you charge more for them?
I think if there's, I think everything is case by case. So if you're saying that there's a reason why you need to charge more on the payment plans and you've got a legitimate reason, I would just be transparent about that reason. Just I would say, hey, I'm not trying to charge a poverty tax here. This is the reason why I do this. But I think it's a nice thing to do to not charge more on the payment plans. But I'm like, it's that thing of like, oh, you're a feminist, so why do you wear makeup? You know, it's like thing like where all the like progressive people are always like picking each other apart in these little ways. Like, and everything should, to me, should be very responsive to the moment and what is actually happening and grounded in reality. Like, I'm an anti-capitalist, but I'm still trying to make money. You know, that's a thing, you know, and it's a conversation to be had. I think more in terms of conversations than rules. I will say that.
Cool. Thank you. Sure.
Yeah.
Amazing. Just gonna check the chat. Oh, Allegra, you got something?
Yeah, I just was gonna, it's interesting. I was noticing a chat above about Ingrid sharing, like, not necessarily having an unpopular belief about, forget where it was. I'm struggling to find my unpopular beliefs. Nobody is against drawings. And I wonder, Ingrid, too, if it's like, and I'd be curious, maybe Rebecca can share to this also. When I think about my tool, right? Like, drawing is your tool and mine is, let's say, UMAP. And I don't know if the unpopular beliefs are meant to be about the tools that we're like putting on the table, or about maybe the journeys that we want to help people on with our tools. Maybe, I'm not sure, because I understand what you're saying. And that's, I think, how I felt. I found my unpopular beliefs surfaced in that moment I was describing, when someone was telling me about what they were going through. And I was like, no, it should be a different way. Anyway, I wonder if that's because I'm with you. I'm like, I don't have any unpopular beliefs around the tool that I've got. I think it's awesome. Like, it's great. Who wouldn't want this great thing? But maybe it's about the bigger picture or something, where those ideas surface.
Yeah, I mean, there's this whole bigger thing about right brain, not using the right brain, and being always in spreadsheets and thinking in business terms and all that.
Yeah, that feels like something is coming up there. Like, that's BS. Like, no, it's not that. It's that kind of. Anyway, I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, thank you.
Ingrid, I think your most unpopular belief is, if you can't draw it, it's not clear enough. Because plenty of people might protest and say, but I can't draw. And then now you've got a conversation. But I feel like you said it. It doesn't have to be super political. I'm very political. You know, not everybody's unpopular belief has to be political. I think yours is like, if you can't draw it, you don't actually know what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So I'm getting a little coaching session here. Love it.
Anyone else? Amanda Jane posted and said, it's just a great little tactic. I find one of the ways to find your opinions is to notice your response to other people's content. Yes, that's right. And no, I disagree, or C's of a deeper opinion and point of view, 100%. Yeah, Sarah.
Sorry. One other thing that I was thinking about are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that I sometimes bring into my work when it comes to thinking about what's bothering us, what do we need to fix in this world, What's our bigger why? Why are we on this journey, and why are we in business? And so the 17 Sustainable Development Goals are kind of this, poster of 17 big challenges that we currently have in the world. And somehow they kind of show us where our interests are and what kind of battle we want to pick. So for example, for me, it's goal number 8, which is all about fair working conditions, right? It's somehow related to work, because I decided, okay, for me, my mission is to bring more empathy and kindness to the business and marketing world. For someone else, it might be the equality goal, right? Where they're working with women to help them, have equal rights. So kind of like looking at the sustainable development goals to think about, well, where am I and where are my clients, and somehow where would we find the resonance with these 17 different goals that we have as a humanity in general?
That's beautiful. It's one of the things I often say is, what's the movement that your business is in service to? Is there some political movement? Is there some protests around this topic? And those are the ones you want to show up for. Those are the voices you want to uplift. Can be very helpful. And then, what's the connection between that and what you do in your business? I'm looking for the tie-in. Mark.
I think I'll be as brief as I can because I see other hands are up, but I just want to add on this piece about the anti-capitalist work, because we're all trapped in this like dumpster fire of a world economy that is traumatic and traumatizing and has held us for centuries, go on for quite a while. And I just, so many of the people that we work with at Heart of Business are from marginalized populations or identities of various sorts. And those are the people that capitalism asks to do the most for the least, to like sacrifice themselves. And so when we look at these business practices, yes, we want to be in integrity. Yes, we want to be as consistent as we can, but being transparent. I love what was said by, oh my God, my brain, Rebecca was saying that. I just love what you were saying there. And it's just so important that that we not individually try to use our business to make up for huge systemic injustices, because I've seen so many people, women, people of color, queer folks, trans folks, who are like wanting to do the right thing and seeing people hurt, and then creating business structures that don't allow them to be supported and to be paid what they need to be paid to survive in this mess. And so it's a fraught, nuanced thing. And so I just want to say I just want to say that it's okay for you to thrive, for you to get paid, and for us to work together collectively to change the systemic issues.
Thank you, Mark. Alicia.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. In terms of, I just wanted to add just a little thing about what I said in colonizing ideas and beliefs. I had a lot of experience with people idealizing what it means to be original stewards or indigenous people. And these are the people who have suffered most the results of exploitation and capitalism. So they're not this ideal view we have. So when we actually look at supporting them, we really need to accept we're going to find things we don't like. They don't fulfill the idea of what we think they should be. That's all I wanted to say. That's why it's very unpopular.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's, it's probably an unpopular belief if it afflicts the comfortable and comforts the afflicted. That might be one way to look at it. If the people who are afflicted by the issue you're helping with feel comforted, and other people feel challenged by it, I mean, that's not that's not the end of the world. Being uncomfortable is not the end of the world. Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any last thoughts? All right. Well, then we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much, the six of you, for coming. What a feast you've laid out for us. My gosh, there was everything from the practical to the profound today. And these are real dear colleagues out there. They do just such good work. And I've got my thing that I do, and they all do their thing so beautifully. So I don't know if you've been following my work for a while and it's not helping. I don't know, you hit a wall with it, or you consider hearing somebody else's point of view. Consider working with somebody else and following them, because it's sometimes we have to hear something in a different way, from a different person, from a different voice, for it to land. I know that's certainly true for me. I've heard certain things from one person. Your mom tells you your whole life, and then you hear it from some guru, and you're like, "This is so profound." So it's often like that. So real good folks here, and of course, I think you get a sense of that from hearing. Thank you for coming. And I've got another one of these coming up with some different colleagues, George Cow, Jonah Richmond, and a couple others I'm not remembering. That's happening on Thursday, I think at 3 p.m. Pacific. So, and of course, this will go up on YouTube. I'll put everybody's links in the comment or in the description below. So feel free to share this or reference it. We'll see you all down the road. Thanks for coming.